Hey, I'm Mark A. Altman, and this is Black and White Week on the 430 movie. Much like the famous cookie of the same name, we're uniting black and white into one great tasty week. And to do that, I have all of your favorite 430 movie hosts assembled together, starting with Mr. Monday, Stephen Melching.
Hi there.
On Tuesday, it's Darren Doctorman.
Are you blind? This movie is so black on the left side.
Wednesday, it's Ashley Edward Miller.
You are black and I am white. You are blind as a bat and I have sight.
And on Thursday, I'm Mark A. Altman, welcoming you back to another week here of the 430 movie, when we curate fantasy theme weeks of classic movies. This week, the subject, black and white movies. And first of all, a very belated happy Father's Day and no King's Day to all who celebrate. Welcome back to the show. I had a nice Father's Day. Ashley, what about you? How was your Father's Day?
You know, it was pretty good. My children largely left me alone. And I went to see Ballerina with Caden. So it was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we went. I was just telling the guys before you hopped on that we went to the driving range, Top Golf. Not to be confused with Top Men. And it's like a driving range, but it's so different than when I was a kid because it's all computerized. It's like a video game. You hit the ball and it monitors how far you hit it, and it turned into a whole competitive game. I just want to mention.
Does it have shirtless Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer?
It does not. That's funny, though. It does not. No, it's Top Golf, not Top
Golf. Oh,
Top Golf, not Top Gun. Yeah. But it was really funny.
Be careful, you don't hit the ball into the danger zone.
Yeah, and Ashley, you went to see Ballerina. It was good because I get to pick our weekend movie because it was Father's Day. And I picked a movie that was very apropos for this week's show, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we watched Manhattan.
Oh.
That's the great Manhattan. I couldn't wait for my kids to see it because my son is a huge Woody Allen fan.
Is he still?
Yeah. And everybody loved it. Not as much as me, but everybody loved it. So that was great. And
everybody had a great time. Oh, wait, wrong movie.
I still, Steve, you mentioned you saw a movie you really loved this weekend.
Yeah. We went out, went and saw the Visit with the In-Laws, and then went to the movies to see The Life of Chuck, which is the new Mike Flanagan movie based on a Stephen King short story.
Not to be confused with The Life of Chucky, which is about a doll.
And that's not like going to visit Chuck and seeing the In-Laws.
Yes. But really, really interesting, unique movie. I think the less you know about it going into it, the better.
Yeah, I had no
idea where it was. Yeah, Mark Hamill's almost unrecognizable with his big Brimley-esque mustache.
Wow.
It was good.
Yeah.
Very unpredictable. I had no idea where it was going. I had not read the short story, so I had no idea what was going to happen in this thing.
I think that's the demarcation point now for age. Are you younger or older than Wilford Brimley in Cocoon?
Oh, God.
That kind of is the demarcation point for
the Brimley line.
You're way
the Brimley line. The Brimley line. I like that. It's like the 38th parallel. The Brimley line.
Brimley line.
Well,
that was a sobering day when I learned I had not only crossed the Brimley line, but the Miyagi line.
Oh, Jesus, man. The Miyagi line is really scary.
Oh, my God.
Well, at least the Brimley
line. Because you got to
line.
figure that Wilford Brimley looks older because of the diabetes.
That's right.
But at least it's a tasty way to do it.
That's what I always say. Babe.
I watched a good documentary on Max about Alan Pakula. It's not new. I just discovered it, but it was really interesting. And they had a lot of people he worked with. No Warren Beatty, but Meryl Streep was on it, and Kevin Kline, it was like a ton of people. It was really good. He's one of those directors that people don't really hold in the kind of, they don't think about. But when you think about his oeuvre, it's really impressive. Yeah, Dustin Hoffman was on it. Robert Redford was on it. Jane Fonda talking about Clute. Clute's a movie I need to rewatch. I haven't watched Clute in a long time.
I mean, he's so non-regarded. We haven't even had a week for him. on the
We
floor.
haven't had a week for Al. We should do an Al Pakula week at some point.
Alan J. Pakula?
That's the
Al
one.
J. Pakula. The J stands for savings. What? No. What?
Well, that's definitely not true.
But it was really, it's good. It's not, it's not like a great documentary, but it's a great documentary if you're interested in Al Pakula, like the great, so I really enjoyed it.
Great directors, which he is one.
And, they also have the Being Mike Nichols documentary, which I thought was terrific.
Oh, I haven't
watched
seen that one yet.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good too. So, it's amazing because all these streamers, you never know, like if you start to really dig down, there's some real treasures, but it's so hard to find any of that
That's
stuff.
the problem with streaming. You can't find anything.
Yeah.
And if you hear about something online, then you completely forget where it was, and it's almost impossible to find.
You got to like write it down right away so you don't forget.
I don't do that.
and they're all knocking off the Netflix. They're trying to have the Netflix navigation, and the Netflix navigation is terrible. And they all think that's the only way you should be able to navigate a streamer. Like the ones that started differently, like Amazon and Max, like now they are virtually identical to Netflix in terms of the way you use the app. And it's just
they're chasing each other down the sinkhole is what's happening.
Oh, what is it? Apple is terrible because it's hard to tell what you're selecting on the Apple screen. At least on
my
mine.
God. Apple, you would think because Apple
company.
And they're usually so good. Everything's so aesthetic and beautiful and intuitive. And yet the Apple app, not for Apple TV, but for Apple, what's their TV streamer called?
Apple TV.
Apple
Plus.
TV Plus. Or
Apple TV Plus, right. That's very difficult
Plus,
to
only
navigate.
different. That's where they got it.
Right, exactly. We're very competitive in terms of revenue. So,
Of course, we're going back to HBO Max. Thank God.
Right. Eventually. Maybe.
I love that.
No one knows.
Because they want to show that they're the mark of quality.
Right.
Yeah.
They can't decide which is the mark of HBO or Max. So
we went to this White Lotus FYC event where we went to a Q&A and they screened the finale and then we left and we didn't realize it was a party afterwards. It was so annoying. Like we got home and it was like all those pictures and stuff from the party and we totally didn't realize that there was a party after the event because the guy who emceed the Q&A never said, and afterwards, don't forget to go upstairs or outside or wherever it was. And so we didn't realize. We totally missed it. It was really aggravating.
You're lucky though, because several of the glasses had the hidden poison. So
that's right.
Make the
from the dirty blender.
Yeah.
From the dirty blender, which shows you should always clean your blender before mixing drinks again. Yeah. So that was good. And I probably watched Andor like 3 more times. So it's just like can't get enough of that Andor. You know what else I can't get enough of? Black and white movies. And here's the thing: social media. See, social media has elevated the voices of the idiocracy to a deafening roar, right? Roar. Deafening roar.
I hear the cannons roar.
I deserve that. That's very funny. And we sort of decided because there've been a lot of these ridiculous memes and conversation on socials. As you see, name a good movie before Titanic. Name one good movie in black and white. It's like what that like it's some weird thing that there was a good movie made in black and white. How could that still be relevant today? Well, we're here to put an end to that nonsense because not only are we programming a week of great black and white movies, I would say we could probably program a year of great, a couple of years perhaps of great black and white movies. But we only have a week, so it'll be interesting. This is another one of these broad topics like last week's 70s movies, but I think it's going to be exciting. It'll be interesting to see the criteria everyone uses for their picks because there's so many great genres that were minted in the black and white era and so much great, amazing cinematography. And I got to say, I was really at a loss because there's just so much that I love in black and white. So without any further ado, Steve, tell us a little bit about, people say one of the biggest changes in the industry was obviously from silent to sound, but it's hard to underestimate the impact of black and white to color as well, isn't it?
Well, sure. I mean, what maybe a lot of people don't fully appreciate is that color has been a part of movies almost from the beginning. That we've seen silent films where, things have been hand tinted in color in the frame, or, I saw a film in Telluride, a black and white silent, where the daytime scenes were all tinted like a yellow color and the nighttime scenes were all tinted blue.
Right.
So color has kind of been a crude part of motion picture films from the beginning. And then we had, starting in, there are various color processes. And I'm not a historian or a chemist or a physicist. So
You're not.
At the risk of inviting,
I'm not a chemist, damn it,
of getting stuff wrong. To say, in a very broad strokes, we had, I think, starting in the 30s, like a 2-strip color process that was red and blue, filtered for red and blue.
So, yeah,
and then we had the 3-strip process, red, blue, and green, where you'd use a prism and
CMY.
Or a prism would separate the image onto 3 black and white negatives, which would then be projected with the appropriate filters to reproduce the color, and then from there we had the monopack films strips where you had different layers of photosensitive material that would photograph those different colors and project them back. So color started to become a bigger part of filmmaking in the 30s and 40s and 50s. But there was a long period of time where a lot of films were still being made in black and white for various reasons. Some of them, I think, were practical and budgetary because it was less expensive, I think, to make a black and white film. The film costs were cheaper and the lighting was easier and the cameras were smaller and more maneuverable than some of the big early color cameras. You might also decide to make a film in black and white because the films were just the film stock was just so much more sensitive. You could get much more sophisticated, lighting and grades of light and shadow in your film.
Right.
It was a lot moodier, so it was a great creative tool as well. And some films also, from a creative standpoint, felt more realistic in a way in black and white because we were so used to seeing newsreels and stuff, our film news in black and white.
We were so used to seeing newsreels
exactly.
when we were going to the theater back in the
when we were walking.
30s.
So
hello, America. Once again.
That sort of documentary feel to it. But for a very long time, there was a separate Oscars category for black and white cinematography. I think from 1939 and 1966, there was a separate category for black and white cinematography. And I believe also...
Let's call it like it was. There was a separate category for color.
Right.
That's what they added.
But also, I think for art direction, there was a black and white category for set design or art direction.
I think so.
Not as extensive as the cinematography, but I think color finally won the battle when the studios really wanted to fight television. With television coming in the 40s, it was in black and white, and that was one of the many techniques.
That was better than the Battle of Scariff.
Where studios could get audiences into a movie theater, you could have big color formats, the different studios, Technicolor, Warner Color, the different color and
it's funny, in the 60s, television went through exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Their capability to broadcast in color existed long before TVs that could receive it were available, and it wasn't until the late 60s that actually happened.
You know what I was just thinking? When I was at Topgolf, there was like a suite, and we could order food, right? And you could sit on the couch while you're waiting, and they'd bring you whatever you wanted, and you could sit there and munch on it during the golf.
This doesn't sound like a golf game to me.
Well, I'm just thinking I wish that we could do that during the podcast where we had a little suite and they'd bring us food and we could eat during our leisurely conversation about movies.
I think back when we were in the studio, that
The
might
John
have been
Gill
possible.
Memorial Podcasting Studio.
Yes. Not anymore, though.
Well, you'll
But
have to come on the cartoon bar room with me and Ashley, and we can
Oh,
have drinks.
yeah.
Love
There
drinks.
you go. You'll have drinks.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Well, when you had appetizers, I'll consider it.
No, but it's funny. You talk about the social media, talking about the black and white films. About, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, I was down at my alma mater, USC, for a Twin Peaks retrospective where they were showing all the episodes of Twin Peaks in the big movie theater over a series of weekends and with guest speakers. And I remember one day I was waiting in line to get in, and there was a group of film students there bemoaning the fact that they had to watch black and white movies. I found that really depressing. Like, you're
That's
here
so
to
sad.
study film and make film, and you're like, oh, it's so old. It was in black and white. I'm like, oh God.
Oh, sickening. That's what this week's all about. If
They
you know,
sicken us.
it's to showcase just the genius of so many movies in black and white. It's amazing to me that people won't watch them because they're in black and white. Like, I'm embarrassed. My niece, my brother's daughter, watched The Wizard of Oz, and she loved it. She and she said the only problem is that it should all be in color. And I was
Oh
so
my God.
aghast. I'm so aghast. I told my brother, "You're clearly screwing up this whole parenting thing." But I couldn't believe it. And I said to her, that's completely. Then she didn't know who the Rolling Stones were, which was almost as bad. So, but the Wizard of Oz was worse.
Well, I mean, I can understand, like, for maybe from an average person, they look at a movie from the 40s or 50s or whatever, and it's in black and white, and they think, oh, it's in black and white. And the storytelling, the pacing is different. Things, were maybe moved slower, and the acting styles are maybe more.
But people talk
Less than-
faster.
Yeah. So it just feels to them boring and old fashioned.
And they all smoked, and they looked great doing it. They wore hats. Forget men without hats. These were men with hats.
With hats. Yeah.
Old timey hats.
They weren't doing the safety dance.
No, they weren't.
Okay, Steve. Let's start as a stunning indictment to those who can't appreciate the genius of black and white movies. Let's show them what they're missing, starting on Monday with Stephen Melching.
Yeah, well, like you said, this is a huge playing field we have to work with here. And I'm going to go with a movie that is a personal favorite. And I think it's one that is both a great example of a beautifully produced black and white movie. The cinematography is gorgeous. The art direction is gorgeous. Both the art direction won an Oscar that year for Best Black and White Art Direction. The cinematography was nominated that year for Best Black and White Cinematography. But it's also a really entertaining movie. And there are obviously there are aspects of it that are old-fashioned or weird, but the characters are so vivid and so well drawn, and it's such a funny, sad movie that just covers all the bases. And I'm talking about 1960s The Apartment.
Ingredient number one, a very warm, very wonderful story about a boy, a girl, and a very special kind of problem.
Did you hear what I said, Miss Kubelik? I absolutely adore you.
Shut up and deal.
Ingredient number two, a brilliant cast. Jack Lemmon in a delightful role which gives full rein to Jack's amazing versatility. Shirley MacLaine, whose glowing warmth lights up the screen like a Christmas tree. Fred McMurray. This is a Fred McMurray you've never seen before.
You see a girl a couple of times a week just for laughs, and right away they think you're going to divorce your wife. I ask you, is that fair?
No, sir, it's very unfair, especially to your wife.
Yeah.
Ingredient number three, Billy Wilder. There's nothing quite like that Billy Wilder, some like it hot kind of laughter.
Are we dressing for dinner?
No, just come as you are.
Say, you're pretty good with that racket.
You should see my backhand. Wait till you see me serve the meatballs.
Mildred! He's at it again!
Written and directed by the great, directed by Billy Wilder, written by Billy Wilder and his off-time collaborator I.L. Diamond, Izzy Diamond, starring Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, Fred McMurray, Ray Walston, Edie Adams. The cinematography, again, nominated for an Oscar by the great Joseph Lachelle, who also did Laura, a classic film noir. Great score.
Which could easily be on this list.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's going to pick it, but Laura could easily be on this.
Well, certainly not now.
But it's just it's such a vibrant, funny movie. It's got a great story, and it goes to some surprisingly dark places, but it's also very funny, and you get really caught up in the storyline of C.C. Baxter, played by Jack Lemmon.
J.J. Hunsaker from Sweet Small Success, but no, you went with C.C. Baxter.
There are a lot of names in those old-timey movies that people had initials for names.
From now on, I'm going to call him D.D. Doctorman.
But it's
I can't call you SS Melching. That would be good, especially since you're German.
No. But just like I said, a vibrant, funny, smart, a melancholy, surprising movie that is just thoroughly entertaining. We watched it with some friends a few months ago who had not seen it, and they loved it. And I mean, what's not to love? It's a terrific movie. It was nominated for a total of 10 Academy Awards. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Art Direction, Black and White Art Direction, and Best Editing, and was nominated for Jack Lemmon for Best Actor, Shirley MacLaine for Best Actress, Jack Crucian for Supporting Actor, although Fred McMurray could have also been nominated for Best Supporting Actor because he's fantastic, Best Black and White Cinematography, and Best Sound. And it was a decent-sized hit when it came out, and is often today considered not only one of the best comedies of all time, but one of the best movies of all time.
Darren, you love this movie. You picked it.
I love this movie, and I have a little bit of trivia that maybe people know, but I'm going to share it anyway. It has a brilliant music score, and a part of the movie, they go into a Chinese restaurant, and playing the piano is a character, quote unquote, named Rickshaw Boy at this Chinese restaurant, but he has an album, and they play it in the apartment. But I found out that the piano playing that we hear on the soundtrack is none other than by studio musician Johnny Williams.
Yes.
I've heard this story. You know when?
That's right.
When you picked the apartment the last time on the 4:30 movie. That's when I learned it. That's when I heard it. That's when I knew it for the first time.
Well, now we know it again.
I think it was in that John Williams documentary that was on.
It was in that documentary too. And I thought, I knew that already because Darren told me on the 4:30.
But we have many new listeners, and they need to listen too. We do.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Great pick. Love that freaking movie. So great. So dark. And just, it's such
dark, but it has such a wonderful heart to it.
Yeah.
It does. And it inspired in so many ways. There are two movies that were a huge influence on Mad Men. The Apartment and North by Northwest.
Yep.
And you can see the DNA of those movies in Mad Men, which is, one of the great TV shows of all time, based on two of the great movies of all time, The Apartment and North by Northwest, which is the opposite in that it's in color in beautiful VistaVision.
There's so much just sort of aching and heartbreak in The Apartment. That's just really, it's a really beautiful love story.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. It's great. And Fred McMurray, for a guy that at least people of our era only knew as the dad in My Three Sons.
Well,
when you
he
think
was
of him in
very-
movies, in Double Indemnity and this, it's like
He was very originally against taking the role because of that fact, and because of the fact that he was under contract with Disney to play all these good guys, and he was very scared that he was going to ruin that reputation.
He's such a convincing bastard in those movies.
Oh my
He's
God,
so
he's
good.
evil.
Oh my God, you just
Absolute evil.
Your skin crawls. He's a great villain in The Apartment. He's so well, and Double Indemnity.
on Christmas Eve, after she's tried to, or just before she tries to commit suicide, he hadn't gotten her a present, so he gives her a bunch of cash.
Yeah,
he has to go home to his wife.
It's
so bad.
It's a $100 bill.
Oh, it's awful. It's just so awful. He's so abhorrent in that movie. So anyway, great pick to start us off. Fantastic. Don't worry, we're going to get to you, A.E. Miller. But first, we got to get to DR Doctorman.
Well, The Apartment was one of my bullpen of selections, but I figured that someone would take it. So instead, I'm going all the way back to 1947. And a little film by a little director named David Lean called Great Expectations.
What great force made a lovely girl choose self-imprisonment?
Estella, you must leave this house. It's a dead house. Nothing can live here.
What was the brooding secret of a young man's childhood? The brilliant team of film craftsmen that brought this happy breed, blithe spirit, and brief encounter to the screen have gone to Charles Dickens for their latest story. Not because he is a classic writer, but because he is the greatest storyteller of all time. Because no one can portray more faithfully than Dickens the hopes and doubts that dwell in the heart of a boy, or hold you poised so perilously between a smile and a lump in the throat.
I wish I could kiss you goodbye.
Who could paint more vigorously than Dickens in the broad colors of melodrama? John Mills is the boy grown up with great expectations. Lovely Valerie Hobson is Estella, grown up from the spoilt little girl who allowed Pip to kiss her. Introducing Anthony Wager, chosen from many hundreds of boys to play Pip when young. Gene Simmons, already started on the road to stardom. And the 101 odd characters that come to life beneath the sure hand of the master. The fools and the criminals, the weak and the strong, the vain, the meek, the modest, the brazen, the gay, the sorrowful, the desperate, and the pompous. Francis L. Sullivan is Jaggers, the lawyer.
What do you suppose you are living at the rate of?
The rate of, Mr. Jaggers?
The rate of.
Nursing a broken heart in a morass of self-pity, the mad Miss Havisham, played by Martita Hunt. Bernard Miles as Joe Gargery, Pip's humble, faithful friend. And hunted alike by the law and the lawbreakers, Finlay Curry as Magwitch.
Oh, Lord, be merciful to him, the sinner.
I have come back, Miss Havisham. I have come back to let in the sunlight.
And it is an amazing adaptation of the Charles Dickens classic novel. It is so beautiful to look at. The production designer was John Bryan, and the cinematographer John Big Booty, and cinematographer Guy Green, which is interesting because there's no green in the movie. It's all black and white. But it is so gorgeous. Every frame is a painting, and the performances are wonderful. playing Pip's young friend is a young actor named Alec Guinness that you may remember from other movies. It's so well.
Murdered by Death. He was the butler.
That's right. James Sir Bensonbaum. And it's so well done. The performances are brilliant and very real for something that is that could have turned very cartoony. It's one of the only things that makes this story palatable to me, because I remember reading it in high school and hating every page.
So you didn't have great expectations for
very low expectations.
Very low expectations. But the way that it is brought to life is so amazing and rich and beautiful that it really sells it to you. And I highly recommend it. One of Lean's early movies that just show that he was an absolute genius.
You could say it was lean compared to his color epics like Bridge on the River Kwai and, of course, Lawrence of Arabia. His two of his greatest masterpieces, and Dr. Zhivago.
Yeah.
So, that's a great pick. Boy, I liked that book when I read it in high school. It was thick. It's a lot of pages.
Very
for a young high school student.
A lot of pages.
A lot of wall space. Okay, we got great pick, great expectations. Great pick from Darren. And now we move to Wednesday, where Ashley's going to pick Plan 9 from Outer Space. No?
Yeah. So on Wednesday, Mel Gibson plays a suicidal Vietnam vet who teams up with Danny Glover as cops in it. Oh, you mean with the black and white?
Oh, I just got the joke. That's funny. Black and white. It's like the song with Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson.
That's right. That's
okay, I get it now. That's funny.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Anyway, Lethal Weapon. No, man, there's so many things that this week could be. And look, it is a broad brush, so it's tough to go outside of the box. But I had a pretty good sense of what our box would be anyway. So I decided to juke just a little bit off center, but not really off center for me.
I think I know what you're going to pick, but go on.
I can't wait to find out if you guys know what I'm going to pick. But you're probably going to be wrong.
Probably.
So the movie that I picked for Wednesday is actually a film that is in the public domain, but it's in public domain by accident, because originally it had a different title.
Oh, okay.
And when somebody picked it up to distribute it and change the title, they stripped the copyright notice off of the new prints, thrusting it into the land of public domain forever and ever. I am referring to the granddaddy of all zombie films and television shows, 1968's Night of the Living Dead.
Welcome to a night of total terror. Night of the living dead, the dead who live on living flesh, the dead whose haunted souls hunt the living whose bodies are the only food for these ungodly creatures. Night of the living dead. A bizarre adventure in fear. An experience in shock, more shattering than your strangest nightmare. Night of the living dead. A night with the dead who cannot die. A night of total terror. Night of the living dead.
I was going to guess that for you. That's
really?
awesome.
I was going to guess. Darren, what were you going to guess for him? I just want to.
No, Night of the Living Dead.
You were. Oh, good for you. I was going to guess. I gave him too much credit. I was going to guess Eyes Without a Face.
Yeah, that's not terrible. Oh, you know what though? It's time to job a flash and fluffer. Now I'm like, I know what I should have picked, but it's okay. No,
Tell us.
It doesn't matter. I'll come on Friday. I'll talk about it on Friday. You know what? And maybe that was in color anyway, but I could be wrong. So, because you know what? After Turner Classics, anything is possible. So, anyway, 1968's Night of the Living Dead, George Romero basically reinvents everybody's idea of what a zombie is, right? All of this goes back to that. I don't give a shit if you're talking about The Walking Dead or 28 Days Later.
No, he doesn't reinvent it. He invents it.
Well, there were ideas of what zombies were. Zombies were like, they were all voodoo and shit.
Yeah,
like,
I walked with the zombie, Val Lewton, and all those. Yeah.
Exactly. He created this idea of like, they're just like flesh eaters who want brains.
Just like us.
Just like us. And what's really great about the film is how obviously he doesn't have a gigantic budget to make this movie. This is not about like, the special visual effects. This is about deeply scary, unsettling crap happening in a house with the apocalypse going on outside, right? This is about murdering children and children murdering mothers. This is...
That's why you love it.
And that's why I love it. No, it's just you name the sort of the violent taboo like that you would imagine from like 1968. Now we don't even think about it, but in 1968 it would be a big deal. George Romero went there. It is relentlessly scary. It is tightly paced. He maximizes what he has available to him in terms of just his resources as a filmmaker. The black and white contributes to the tone and the impact of the film in a huge way. So it's not that...
and the social commentary of it.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about the black and white of this black and white film. So fascinatingly enough, like one of the things that the movie is most well known for other than brains being eaten and I'm coming to get you, Barbara, and evil little zombie girls and shit like that, is that the surviving character, Ben, played by Dwayne Jones, is an African-American actor. At the very end, he's the last survivor. He's like stumbling out of the farmhouse, and he's
the final girl.
He's the final girl. He's the final Ben. He's stumbling out of the farmhouse, but here come some guys with guns. They see him stumbling towards them, like they shoot him dead. And the last line is something like, well, there's another one for the fire. Now, people read this as sort of a political commentary on George Romero's part. But here's the fun fact. George Romero never intended that. Originally, as George Romero wrote the part, Ben was supposed to be like a working class white truck driver. But when Dwayne Jones came in to audition, Dwayne Jones knocked it out of the park. Romero loved him, cast him in the role, rewrote nothing. It is said, or at the very least, Dwayne Jones claimed that he did some rewrites on his own dialogue. May or may not be the case, but Romero has consistently said that any political commentary that you might impute to that film was entirely unintentional. Does that matter? The answer is no, because how we read the film is simply a function of the time, at which the film is made, right? It's by definition, as soon as we see that on the screen, it means something. The audience takes something away from it. And that, kids, is the power of cinema. That is the difference between the intention of the artist and what the audience takes away. And other than the fact that as a horror piece, it's extremely well executed. It happens to be, even if it's unintentional, something that elevates that film and by extension then elevates the series of sequels that came after it. Now, those sequels aren't great. Dawn of the Dead, I think, is a masterpiece. I think it's honestly a better film. Day of the Dead, I think is underappreciated, but great. After that, it kind of falls off. But if you like The Walking Dead, you can thank George Romero. You can thank Night of the Living Dead. There was a remake from like the late 90s, and I think Tony Todd, the great Tony Todd.
Was the lead, yeah.
Yeah, played the role of Ben in that movie. or played
and Patricia Tallman from Babylon 5 was in it.
Yeah, but she did not play Ben, which would have been like another weird casting thing, which did not happen, but not as good.
You should have cast him with Dean Jones.
No,
that's a very different movie.
That darn zombie.
Different movie. Right. Yeah, there you go, man. Night of the Living Dead. Brains.
Yeah, they're coming for you Wednesday.
Well,
that's
I mean, as far as black and white, I mean, this is a movie, like you said, that had tremendous influence on the horror genre and low budget filmmaking, and like you said, the cinematography, the black and white cinematography and production that adds to it, both from a moody artistic place, but also giving it that documentary feel. It feels so real, like you're there with these people. Just a tremendous movie. If you're a fan of those zombie movies, you owe it to yourself to see this.
For sure.
Fantastic. Oh my God. So that means we're at Thursday. I really was hoping by Thursday I'd have a better sense of what I wanted to pick because, I'd have a sense of the week. But I mean, it's like Monday we got The Apartments, Billy Wilder. So I'm not going to go with like Double Indemnity because one Billy Wilder film is enough. Or, the 1, 2, 3, great Billy Wilder comedy because we have a Billy Wilder movie. Then for Tuesday, you picked the Charles Dickens classic literature, a lot of those. I'm not going to go Grapes of Wrath, Steinbeck, anything like that, because we have one represented. On Wednesday, we have a horror film represented, The Great Night of the Living Dead. So that eliminates, a bunch of films. I want to go with a different genre. So kind of like, do I go with screwball comedy? Do I go with noir? Darren, I think, said was sure that I would pick Manhattan. I'm saving that for another week. I don't know when. But The Great Gordy Wilson is also because it's not part of the black and white era. It was, it was shot in 79, long after black and white movies.
But it's not black and white era week.
It's black and white.
I want to go with a classic movie, from. So I'm not going to pick Manhattan. And it's like there's so many of these great cinematographers like John Alton, who like anything he ever shot, I would pick. And I think I have in the past picked stuff like T-Men, if I recall. I've picked Gilda before, so I'm not going to pick that. I picked Citizen Kane before. I'm not going to pick that. I was thinking about Manchurian Candidate, of course, but the great John Frankenheimer film, which is just a stunning black and white film and particularly relevant these days. But I think that I'm really have narrowed it down to 3 films. And one would be The Roaring Twenties, which I just love. It's a gangster film, which isn't talked about as much as Public Enemy and Little Caesar, but it's just as good, if not better. And it just has everyone in it. Humphrey Bogart, and it has James Cagney, and it's fantastic.
Pizza.
But then I'm like, oh my God, what about Joseph Mankiewicz's All About Eve? It's so brilliant, and Bette Davis is so great, and the dialogue is so fantastic, and it's beautifully shot. But I'm going to go with a film that I think is relatable to people today, that shows the brilliance. And I think Darren may have picked this before, if I'm not mistaken, but 1957's 12 Angry Men.
On the point of that knife, a man's life is at stake.
I'm just saying it's possible.
And I say it's not possible. I want you to watch this because I don't want to have to do it again. I'll make myself about 6 or 7 inches shorter, okay?
It's about right, maybe a little more.
Okay, a little more.
Look out!
Here's what I think happened.
How can you be positive about anything?
I don't understand you people. I mean, all these picky little points you keep bringing up, they don't mean nothing.
You are going to try a man for murder. The awesome power to kill will suddenly be thrust into your hands.
Watch them
and pray, for someday you may become one of them. 12 men with the smell of violent death in their nostrils.
What's the matter with you guys? You're letting them slip through our fingers.
Slip through our fingers? Are you his executioner?
You cut it.
Ever since you walked into this room, you've been acting like a self-appointed public avenger.
Shut up.
You're a sadist.
12 men turned into 12 clawing animals.
Now, of course, this is the movie that starred Henry Fonda. It all takes place in one room, and yet it never feels claustrophobic. Has a brilliant cast, everyone from Lee J. Cobb to E.J. Marshall, Ed Begley, Jack Warden, Martin Balsam,
Jack Klugman,
Piglet, Jack the Ripper, John Fiedler, Jack Klugman. And it's just a wonderful film about a jury box, and everyone gets picked for the jury. They all want to go home. They just want to say this guy's guilty and go home.
But you know what? The problem is that the moment that Hank Fonda comes in with that knife, we have a mistrial.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Henry would fuck up the whole thing.
And Henry Fonda is not going to let them off the hook without. He's not going to back down until they discuss it. And one by one, he begins to convince them that there has to be the preponderance of innocent until proven guilty, and it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt to convict this guy. And it's just a fantastic nail biter, brilliantly performed by like this incredible ensemble of actors, beautifully shot. It's the beginning of Sidney Lumet, who had so much success in live television, now applies his lens to features, and he's gone on to an incredible career after that. So my pick, as hard as it is, because so many of my favorite movies of all time, Sweet Smell of Success, Casablanca, or Big Sleep, or, all black and white movies, Manhattan, but I'm not, Citizen Kane, of course, but I'm not going to pick those because I'm picking 12 Angry Men and I only get one pick, and that's the pick.
So you found 12 Angry Men guilty of being a great black and white film.
I did. That's a good way of putting it, Darren. Guilty.
So I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to do a new version of 12 Angry Men where it's exactly the same until the end, and we realize that he did in fact murder his father.
That'd be amazing. I love everything about that.
And they find him guilty.
Yeah,
that appeals to the cynic in me.
I want to do a version where they're all on Krypton. And they have to vote on whether or not General Zod is guilty of
Jordan was like the children of Krypton.
And I will hold you, Jor-El, and you, Ely J. Cobb, and you, John Fiedler, and Jack Klugman, all of you, I will hold responsible, and your heirs, including Jane Fonda,
and Bridget Fonda, all the Fonda.
And Henry Fonda comes out and throws the green crystal down on the table.
That's right. Everybody but Ed Begley. Ed Begley, he lets off the hook. So, now.
So,
nice.
For the record, my crap, I maybe should have, because it was even more outside the box.
Ooh, what?
John Frankenheimer, Seconds.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Bizarre, terrifying. Rock Hudson, in an astonishing change of pace, stars in Seconds. Rock Hudson as a second, freed from all responsibilities, now ready to taste new pleasures. Rock Hudson as a man who buys for himself a totally new life, a chance to begin again. Every man's dream since time began.
As soon as these people leave, I'm going to attack you. I want you to know that.
I'm counting on it.
Rock Hudson, as a man who lives the nightmare of being a second.
Why are you all staring at me like that? Hey, John. Hey, John. Hey, John. Why are they staring at me like that?
They know.
They know what?
They're like you. Reborn.
Oh, Laura!
That's a good pick. That's a better Ashley pick than Night of the Living Dead.
But I'm going to stick with Night of the Living Dead, but there you go.
No, of course, you have to.
Yeah.
Although
it's not like Vampire Strikes Back replaced.
Yeah, exactly. That was the Omega 13.
Vampire Strikes
Back and Tiffany's.
Another Ashley pick would have been Young Frankenstein, though.
Yes, thought about it. But I actually thought one of you cats was going to pick it.
I thought one of us was going to pick it too, but I thought that was the second one that I thought you might have picked.
Wow, Seconds is such a great pick. Yeah. I would back that for Friday. I got to tell you, John Frankenheimer's. It's the end of the black and white era, and it's a movie that just is sort of reinvents the cinematic rules and editing and the way it tells the story, and Rock Hudson playing against type and
it's a brilliant story. The black and white is beautiful.
It's so good.
And again, it really contributes to how we interpret the story and how we feel about it. It's great.
Yeah. Wow.
If I were in a worse mood, I would pick half of Wizard of Oz. But
that's funny. I love it. Yeah.
Seconds is really interesting. I mean, it's a great sort of, political, psychological horror type movie.
Yeah.
It's just so,
it's a modern old movie.
Yeah.
That's a great description that Darren just said. It feels very contemporary and very modern. And yet it's from 68, 67.
66, I think.
66. Are you sure? I think it's too early. Do you have it? Do you have it in front of you, Steve?
That's what Wikipedia says. 66.
Oh, well, who we'd argue with the great Wikipedia?
Yeah, 66.
The great and mighty Wikipedia.
Never wrong. Batman the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Which also broke all the rules. Wow. Yeah. No. One of the genres we haven't talked much about, of course, is the Western. Stuff like Stagecoach and even more so High Noon, which Gary Cooper, which is just a really special movie. And again, very relevant, and a guy who's abandoned by people because of his ethics and he does the right thing, despite the fact it's really difficult for him to do that because he's facing off against Frank Miller and his gang of artists and daredevils and Dark Knight. No, he's facing off against Frank Miller, but he's going to do it because it's what's right, and he won't run away. And
it's interesting that Westerns were one of the first types of movies to be made in color.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And just look at how the Western changed. I mean, it's Red River is black and white. I mean, there's a lot of these films. I mean, the black and white Westerns are great. Stagecoach is great. But the color Westerns are just, color was made for Westerns.
Yeah.
Monument Valley was made to be shot in color.
Yeah.
There's the early Hitchcock films like Shadow of a Doubt and Strangers on a Train, which are great black and white. Correspondent.
Notorious. The photography in Notorious is amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
My second pick was going to be a Walt Disney film with Fred McMurray, The Absent-Minded Professor, which is wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
Mm. Yeah, you picked On the Waterfront before, didn't you, Darren, if I recall?
At some point.
Or was it Steve? Oh, okay. That's another Eli Kazan.
It could have been someone. It could have been somebody instead of a second pick.
I mean, there are probably 10 Billy Wilder movies we could, we didn't mention Sunset Boulevard or, but we didn't go overseas. I was thinking of something like the Seven Samurai, so those Kurosawa, Samurai
High and
films.
Low is
And of course, George Miller's Mad Max Fury Road Black and Chrome edition.
Yeah, yeah.
And Steven Soderbergh's Black and White.
I like the Black and Chrome edition.
I was going to say,
me too, honestly.
Steven Soderbergh turning the color off on Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So many picks. Last Picture Show movies Steve and I adore, right, Steve?
Oh, yes. Beautiful photography, great wistful drama.
The original 79 Star Treks are all in black and white. Oh, no, that was only watching them as a kid. They're actually in color. I didn't realize.
All the Universal horror, monster movies are all beautiful black and white.
I specifically didn't pick any of those because they belong in another week.
Yeah. It's true. And I stayed away a little bit from film noir too, because we've done a film noir week. We could do another film noir week. I mean, virtually every one of those movies through Touch of Evil is in black and white. And, there are probably 50 of them that could be in this week.
Yeah, they could be their own week for sure.
We can also mention Mike Nichols' first film, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Which is
that's
beautiful
good.
Also
shot.
Gorgeous, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And holds up really well. We just watched that last year, and it holds up great. Terrific.
It's amazing.
Streetcar Named Desire, another beautiful black and white adaptation of Tennessee Williams.
Raging Bull.
Raging Bull.
Raging Bull. Or as this show was originally called, Raging Bullshit.
Yeah.
Who called it that?
Nobody called it that.
No one did.
No one.
Fellini's 8.5. And then we've got one of my favorite foreign films, Wings of Desire.
Sure.
A beautiful German film. Great black and white cinematography. Great love story.
German angles.
Stanley Kubrick. We didn't go to Dr. Strangelove or Paths of Glory. Beautifully.
That's true.
Yeah, Lolita.
Killer.
Lolita,
The Killer. That's a movie people don't talk enough about. Well, The Killing would fall under noir, I think.
Noir.
Yeah.
But then also all the great screwball comedies like Preston Sturges' Lady Eve or the Marx Brothers with Duck Soup. I mean,
Or It Happened
Or the Blondie movies.
Or the Blondie movie.
Or the Blondie movies.
Penny Singleton and what's his name? Yeah.
No.
I don't think they're funnier movies than a lot of those early black and white comedies. I mean, to be honest.
Agree. Yeah, you don't have any Howard Hawks.
No.
It Happened One Night was Best Picture.
Yeah, It Happened One Night is great. I'm glad you just mentioned Howard Hawks. I mean, I would easily pick The Big Sleep for me, as but some people would say To Have and Have Not, which I don't like it as much as some of his other work, but it's Bogey and Bacall for the first time. Oh my God, the list just goes on and on.
Charlie Chaplin, some of the early silent.
If we get into the silent movies,
Buster Keaton.
Yeah,
sure. Sherlock Jr. was on my short list. 1924 Sherlock Jr., the Buster Keaton film, written by X-Files Clyde Bruckman, Peter Boyle.
Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Yeah. I mean, Steve, a movie we love, The Last Command. Emil Jannings. The Crowd.
Metropolis.
Metropolis. I mean, look, we could just keep naming names, but we're not really like Kazan. We're not going to just name names. Oh
my God.
I think that we should. I think that actually, when he started off with Seconds, is a great pick. Or do we go with something like Casablanca? That's everything. We picked it so many times.
We've talked about. I like
Casablanca
Seconds.
has been mentioned many times on the show, and we all love it now.
I like Seconds because we haven't talked about it much, and and like you said, it's a very contemporary feeling, older black and white movie. And I for someone who's maybe reticent about watching a black and white movie, this might suck them in, and they might truly.
Well, it has violence, it has nudity. I mean, it has but I'm just saying it feels very contemporary, and obviously it's so nihilistic. It also has Richard Anderson, not MacGyver. It has Richard Anderson from The $6 Million Man, Oscar Goldman in a pivotal role.
And it's unsettling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of that would pair very well with Manchurian Candidate.
Absolutely, it's a double feature. That's
yeah. Should we make it a double feature? No?
No.
You don't have enough time on Friday to watch two movies?
That's going too far.
Okay, I love the picking seconds because you're right. I think the whole idea of we're saying, okay, if you, and I'm sure people who listen to this podcast aren't those people, but if you don't like black and white movies, you don't watch black and white movies, watch seconds and tell us then that you still don't like black and white movies. And I would challenge anyone who says they don't like black and white movies to come out of seconds and be like, oh, that's old fashioned.
Well, I think any of these movies, you could sit down and watch The Apartment or Great Expectations or Night of the Living Dead, 12 Angry Men. I mean, these are all really well done.
Or you can just
watch a sequel, 13 Angry Men.
That's right.
12 Angry Men and a Little Lady.
Yeah, but Leonard Nimoy directed that one. It wasn't as good.
Try and play it not so angry.
Less emotional.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Okay, well I think that gives us a week, doesn't it, gentlemen?
It does.
Okay, fantastic. Well, this is just a taste. It's a small window into the wonderful world of black and white movies. We hope maybe once you sample some of these, you'll continue down that road and discover the embarrassment of riches that lies in the past that maybe you have been closed to in the past. But these are just really special films, and they're so great. And they're the films that people have been ripping off for decades. They stand on the shoulder. People today, the movies they make stand on the shoulders of the giants. Howard Robbins, Billy Wilder.
Good.
Howard Hawks. Anyway, Charles Vidor, Fritz Lang, all these people. We haven't even talked about Fritz Lang movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, so many. Well, you mentioned Metropolis. But okay, let's remind the audience what they'll be watching this week on Black and White Week, starting on Monday, Stephen.
Monday, everyone wants to rendezvous in The Apartment, directed by Billy Wilder, starring Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine.
Tuesday, Darren.
Tuesday, it's Haley Mills' dad, John, has Great Expectations.
On Wednesday, Ashley Edward Miller.
On Wednesday, they're coming to get Barbara in George Romero's zombie apocalypse epic 1968 Night of the Living Dead.
On Thursday, you wouldn't like them when they're angry in 1957's 12 Angry Men. And then, of course, 1966, John Frankenheimer classic on Friday. Not minutes, not hours, not the hours. Nobody's nose is weird or anything like that. It's seconds.
And you can actually watch it first if you like.
You could watch it first. That is a hell of a week.
It's a great week.
If we rank weeks, we should do that. We should rank 4:30 movie weeks. The best weeks of 4:30 movie weeks.
Fantasy theme week is 4:30 movie weeks.
This would be one of the best 4:30 movie weeks.
Yeah.
This like if you had to pick a week of 4:30 movies to watch, this would be a pretty great week.
Well, there are no losers in here, mainly because I didn't F it up this time, so.
No, Night of the Living Dead is a great movie. What a great movie. I love that movie.
Well, one of my favorite things about this week is that I've never seen Great Expectations, so now I have a great recommendation to check out.
Awesome.
You just don't like Dickens, do you?
He loves Dickens.
Hey, watch it.
What?
His idea of Dickens is watching Star Trek 2.
It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times.
It was the lurst. It was the lursa of times.
The blurst
and Betor of times.
Oh my God, this is the wrong show for these jokes.
Shit.
Some people don't listen to Treksperts, and they're like, "What are these idiots talking about?"
Well,
the Star Trek
care
humor.
about both of them.
Jesus, it's not true. Two very different audiences for 4:30 movie and the Inglorious Treksperts. Two very different audiences.
We need to change that. We need to bring both sections into the fold of the other podcast.
I don't know. I don't think that necessarily that some of the Trekspert people have any interest, and the 4:30 movie people have little interest in the Trek stuff.
That's a sad story.
I don't know if it is.
Peanut butter's always interested in chocolate. And chocolate's always interested in
I think it's probably good that way. But anyway, it's always great to have you join us here on the 4:30 movie. And as we slowly make our way through our 8th season, pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah.
8 seasons of this. And of course, we'll be back next week with an all new episode, but you can listen and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all Podbean, all those Podbean. I'd like to see what grows from that seed we plant today. And
maybe one little piece of our action.
And of course, if you want to suggest future theme weeks, you can write us at TrekSpertsPlus@gmail.com and listen to our sister podcast, Inglorious Treksperts, wherever you listen to podcasts. If indeed you are a Star Trek fan. If not, you get to hear us talk about restaurants and stuff. So how bad could that be? Well, it could be pretty
Depends
bad.
on the restaurant.
That's true.
It can be pretty bad.
Or you can, can't they also join the conversation on Twitch?
Oh, yes, on not Twitch, on Discord. You can join the conversation on the Discord channel. So check that out in the show notes. And speaking of meals, Darren has a birthday coming up soon.
Oh, does he?
Got to talk about that.
No, we don't.
We don't want to talk about that?
We don't need to talk about that. It's fine.
His 71st birthday.
I think we should. This is how desperate we are for weeks. We're going to do Darren Doctorman Birthday Week. Movies to program for Darren Doctorman's Birthday Week. We all pick movies we think Darren would like.
Oh my God, that's actually not a terrible idea for a week.
I know half of you, half as much as I'd like.
Let's do it right now. Star Trek the Motion Picture on Monday.
And on Tuesday.
No.
Star Trek the Motion Picture.
It will not be Star Trek 6.
To tell a family secret, I'm kind of sick of Star Trek the Motion Picture, but don't tell anybody.
Oh, wow. You heard it here first. Dun, 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 dun. Newsflash.
Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Oh, don't tell anybody. Don't say anything bad about Star Trek until after Vegas. Okay.
Right,
yeah, because we'll be in Las Vegas talking Star Trek 4 days on the Trekspert stage this August. So come join us, won't you? And join us next Friday for an all-new episode of the 4:30 movie. Until then, Eyewitness News starts now in black and white.